in position, and we had a battery of 75mm guns in support. So C Company came through here and up through the woods and took up a position quite easily on point 56 near the Drencherweg. It was a job of my company to give them supporting fire from the other side of the railway. And I moved up over the railway along the row of houses until I reached the bridge over the railway, and I could fire onto the German positions. And incidentally, as we went up there, I went through a house right at the end there to set up the firing position from the roof, and there was a dear old couple having breakfast in their kitchen. And we were able to give them fire support and to fire on quite a number of Germans who came down the Drencherweg to the railway bridge. Sadly, when I came down from the attic, there was a bloody great hole through the kitchen, and I think the old couple had disappeared into the cellar, where they must have remained for the rest of the battle, because those houses, the other side of the railway, were right in between us and the enemy for about 6 days. Anyway, I was told that having done that, I would come back along the railway, come into where we are now, come up this track here, and battalion headquarters was about a quarter of a mile up the track in the woods, where there used to be a water tower, and there's now a statue, I think, of the Virgin Mary. And I was told to report to the commanding officer, by which time our A Company had been launched in an attack to cross the Drencherweg and to get up onto the Lichtenbeek feature. I arrived up after that had happened, and our brigadier had been seeing our colonel, and he'd obviously impressed upon him, you must get on at all costs. And therefore, this is one of the reasons some of the essential points of tactics were missed. Now, A Company put in an attack on the Drencherweg to get through, and they were slaughtered. And all the way along the Drencherweg were about a force of about 500 of the Panzer SS divisions with about 20-25 armoured vehicles. Those armoured vehicles were armoured cars, half-tracks, and the most deadly weapon was on a half-track, a 20mm flak gun. And firing into these trees here, the 20mm shells burst and the splinters go in all directions, and if you're walking, lying down, you will get hit. Anyway, the colonel said to me, A Company have gone through. So he said. He said, you must cross the road and get on to Lichtenbeek and push on to the next feature. And for some unknown reason, he said to me, there are only some snipers around. He must have heard the racket going on of A Company. Now, sadly again, why he didn't do it, he was very good at using supporting fire during our battles in Italy. I said we had the mortars here, we had a battery of guns. Now, no fire support was given to A Company. If ahead of A Company attack, the artillery and the mortars had fired on the road, and as you know, the shells and the mortar bombs burst in the trees and the splinters come down. There could have been no Germans in the slit trenches or in the open half-tracks. Anyway, as I said, press on regardless. I formed up my leading platoons and we pressed on, hopefully to get on across the road to join A Company. But as I advanced up the track, there were bodies lying down on either side. One of these tracked vehicles that we had was bringing back the casualties on stretchers. And I got within about 100 yards of the road, and beside the road on a pile of logs was the whole of a platoon headquarters who had been killed. There was an open clearing there, and I hesitated for a bit before crossing, and our major in charge of the support company came up with me, and we heard the noise of low-flying aircraft. So he said, "Spitfires, let's get across." We looked up, there was a fighter with a bloody great red black cross on it, and they were strafing us up down in the woods. And as I explained last time I came here, foolishly, I made a mistake. Looking back on it, it's probably natural at the time. Right ahead of me up the track was one of these twin-barrel 20mm that was causing the trouble. And I went forward with 3 or 4 of my men to try and knock it out, and we got within 10 yards of it, and as one of my men was about to throw a phosphorus grenade onto the half-track, he was shot, and what I didn't realise, there was a bloody little crack up the tree above, and he shot me. And eventually I was rescued by one of my soldiers and brought back to the regimental 8 post, which was by the water tower in the middle. And that both with A and B companies more or less at half strength. We had enormous casualties there. There was no way of getting across. The rest of the battalion tried to make 1 or 2 more attacks, but without success. The opposition was too strong. Now, by this stage, the 10th Battalion were up on the main road, just short of the Lerendal, having the same sort of battle. And the General Urquhart that morning had escaped from the attic that he was hiding in down by St. Elizabeth's Hospital. And again, doing what he did when he was caught behind, driving a jeep on his own, he drove through the woods and came up to our brigadier at his headquarters just down here on the railway. And they discussed the situation. And the situation was that the 4th Brigade were being boxed in. We had a strong force in front of us. There were 2 or 3 enemy battalions all the way along there, and there was an enemy battalion approaching the level crossing at Wolfhazer. So it looked as if the brigade would be boxed in north of the railway. And what our brigadier wanted to do was to get in with the rest of the division wherever it was. So orders were issued to withdraw the brigade. Now, withdrawals in battle are usually done at night, so the enemy don't know what is happening. But withdrawing by day, in daylight, and in action, close action with the enemy, is one of the most difficult tactics in warfare, and that is what we had to do, or it's what the battalion had to do. And the orders were issued, be prepared to withdraw. And then there's some information came through which forced the order to be given, withdraw at once. So the remnants of 156 had to start withdrawing out of these woods, followed up closely by the German armour and infantry. The 10th Battalion started to withdraw across the open ground, heading for the level crossing. And just as they got into the middle of it, the gliders came in. And there were about 37 gliders which took off from England. Most of them were the Polish guns and jeeps. Some were gliders that had cast off on the first day, coming in again. About a dozen cast off or were shot down coming in. The remaining gliders came in, escorted by the Luftwaffe, who were shooting up the gliders from the air. Now, the KOSB were again meant to defend this landing zone. They had their headquarters in Johanna Herver farm just below us, or what used to be the farm, and the companies were all the way around the landing zone and in contact with the enemy. So when the Polish gliders came in,